One of the reasons we have such a black on black crime epidemic is because we got children who have no remorse to take a life. Can't show compassion, but you know why? Because they never experienced it themselves. How do you show love when you never got it? How do you show humility when nobody was ever humble in your presence? How do you show empathy when nobody ever empathized with you? This black on black crime spree that we see in Baltimore, Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in every major city we got black men killing black men. You know why? Because hurt people have to hurt people. And until we address the crisis of pain and pathology in the black community, we'll never stop black on black crime. Brothers and sisters, we have allowed our children to run our neighborhoods. And as long as we allow our children to run our neighborhoods, no other group will ever respect black people again.
In order to effectively address black on black fratricide, you have to deal with two things that nobody talking about. You have to deal with two things. Black on black homicide will not stop if I tuned day 3 times. If I tuned day 3 times. If I tuned day 3 times. When we hear these conversations in the media from the black bourgeoisie, the white power structure, whenever they talk about black on black homicide, the white media, black bourgeoisie, white power structure, whenever they never talk about mental health and money. If we are not going to talk about the role that emotional stress and economic depression plays on black homicide, we never going to solve the problem. If we do not talk about the role of emotional stress and economic depression, emotional stress and economic depression, if we're not going to talk about emotional stress and economic depression, you're never going to put a dent in black on black fratricide. Because these brothers are killing for two reasons. They are stressed out and they are broke. I'm going to say it again. They are stressed out and they are broke. Black men are under emotional duress. My African brothers in America are under emotional duress. Now, black women, don't make this about you right now. I understand you go through hell. I understand you suffer racism. I understand you deal with a double oppression or sexism of white male sexism and black male sexism. Black woman, I understand. But let me be clear right now to all my beautiful African sisters. But let me be clear right now to all my beautiful African sisters. You go to jail, but you don't go to jail nowhere nearly as much as black men. Our black girls get miseducated, but they don't get miseducated nowhere nearly as much as black men. Our black women are killed by police, but they are not murdered by police nowhere nearly as much as black men. This is not he versus she. This is not he versus she. This is not him versus her. This is not him versus her. This is simply saying that black male oppression is the worst oppression in the United States. I did not say the sisters were not close behind, because you are. I did not say the sisters are not close behind, because you are. I did not say black women are not being oppressed. Yes, you are. I'm simply saying that the oppression that the black man faces is worse than everyone. That's all I'm saying. The oppression that black men face is worse than everybody. It's worse than everybody. LGBT don't go through what I go through. Lesbians don't go through what I go through. Transgender don't go through what I go through. Ukrainians don't go through what I go through. Afghanis don't go through what I go through. Immigrants don't go through what I go through. The black man is the most oppressed person in American society. The black man is the most oppressed person in American society. The black man is the most oppressed person in American society. And I'm saying, if we want to end oppression of black men, if we want to end the killing is an unconscious suicide. See, black on black homicide is an unconscious suicide. Black on black homicide is an unconscious suicide. Black on black homicide is an unconscious group suicide, brothers and sisters. It's an unconscious black suicide. Let me give it to you like this. Ifa Tunde 3 times. Let me give it to you like this. What is the leading cause of death for black boys birth to 19? The leading cause of death for black boys birth to 19 is other black boys. I'm going to say it again. The leading cause of death for black boys birth to 19 are other black boys. According to the Center for Disease Control, the leading cause of death for black boys birth to age 19 is other black boys. That's the statistics. That's the statistic. Now check this out. The leading cause of death for young black men, the leading cause of death for young black men, 20 to 44. The leading cause of death for young black men, 20 to 44, is other young black men. Other young black men. Other young black men. Okay? So for black men in America, birth to age 44. Black men in America, birth to age 44, our leading cause of death is one another. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. Now, I'm going to look at this from 3 perspectives. I'm going to look at this from a mental health perspective. I'm going to look at this from an economic perspective. I'm going to look at this from a political genocide perspective. I'm going to look at this from a mental health perspective. I'm going to look at this from an economic perspective. I'm going to look at this from a political genocide. Let's deal with mental health. Black men cannot get effective mental health in America. I'm going to say it again. It is very hard for black men to find effective mental health in America. I'm going to tell you why. The reason it is so difficult for black men to find effective mental health in America is nobody cares about the black man. That's number 1. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the black man. So when a black man goes looking for mental health, you know what he gets? He gets a prescription for some Zoloft. He gets a prescription for some Prozac. Nobody wants to give therapy and counseling to black men. They just want to give them some drugs. Drugs. The same thing that locked them up. Same thing that got them locked up. They want to give them some drugs. So nobody's trying to help black men. What is often presented as help for black men is just a hustle on black men. What is often presented as help for black men is nothing more than a hustle on black men. What is presented as help for black men is usually just a hustle on black men. So there's no meaningful mental health. Black psychologists, no disrespect. Black psychologists, no disrespect. Black psychiatrist, black counselor, black social worker, we have not. I'm speaking to all black mental health professionals. I'm speaking to all black mental health professionals. Black psychologists, black psychiatrists, black counselor, black social worker, we have done nothing. We have done nothing to systematically address the absence of effective mental health talk therapy with our men. We have not addressed mental health talk therapy with our men. All we do is let the white mental health system pump our men with drugs. Black men don't need drugs. They need a dialogue. Black men don't need Prozac and Zoloft. They need a dialogue. They need a conversation, not a prescription. Black men need a conversation, not a prescription. Black men need a conversation, not a prescription. And you black mothers, you are guilty. My beautiful black queens, I love you, but you guilty. Because when your son needs a conversation, you let them force you into getting him a prescription. When your son needs a conversation, you let the power structure force you into getting him a prescription. When your son needs a conversation, you let the power structure force you into getting him a prescription. Black boys don't need a prescription. They need a conversation. We got black boys who've been raped. We got black boys who've been molested. We got black boys abandoned by their father, abandoned by their mother, abused by older siblings, beat up by their peers, told that they're ugly, unwanted. Black boys suffer emotional abuse from racist white teachers at school every day. I said black boys suffer emotional abuse from racist white teachers every day. I said black boys suffer emotional abuse from racist white teachers every day. And the black community does nothing about it at all. The American Negro community, the American Negro community is the most dysfunctional, neglectful, self-destructive community in this country. We are the walking contradiction that our ancestors never thought would come into being. We must deal with mental health. Mental health. The black man kills the other black man because he don't have conflict resolution skills. The black man kills the other black man because he's tired of being disrespected. The black man kills the other black man because he's afraid if he don't kill him, he might kill him. Black on black homicide is a mental health crisis. Black on black homicide is a mental health crisis. Black on black homicide is a mental health crisis. They need conversations, not medication. Black men need a conversation, not a medication. Black boys need a conversation, not a medication. But where can the black man go when he needs a conversation? Where can the black boy go when he needs a conversation? He can't go to church because in church, they want to feed you somebody's religious dogma. So you can't go to church, can't go to the masjid, can't go to the masjid because they want to feed you religious dogma. Can't go to the NAACP and Urban League because they don't care about the black man's problems. Can't go to the Congressional Black Caucus. They too busy kissing ass of the white power structure. Can't go to the Congressional Black Caucus. They too busy kissing ass of the white power structure. And let me digress. Elections are coming up on November the 8th. Elections are coming up on November the 8th. Elections are coming up on November the 8th. Black men, we don't need to vote at all unless we voting for an independent black candidate with some solutions. I'm going to say it again. I'm talking to the black man community. I'm talking to the alpha male brothers. What are you voting for November the 8th? Can somebody help me out? What does a black man have to vote for next month? Can somebody tell me? What is the black man voting for November? Somebody help me out. Nobody better come in my face about no voting. I don't want to hear it. Take that shit somewhere else. You voter registration people? You voter registration people? You voter registration? When you see me, please go to the other side of the street. Because I only got 3 words for you, voter registration people. Vote for what? Can I please have an answer? Vote for what? Can I please have an answer? Vote for what? Can I please have an answer? Vote for what? What does the black man have to vote for next month? What does the black man have to vote for next month? Somebody help me out. Somebody help me out. Black men are emotionally traumatized. Let's look at the economics. This is why I'm not voting November the 8th unless I find somebody worthy of my vote, because my vote is not cheap. I'm not voting November the 8th unless I find somebody worthy of my vote November the 8th, because my vote is not cheap. I'm not voting November the 8th unless I find someone worthy of Prince Ifa Tunde's vote, because my vote is not cheap, brothers and sisters. Your vote might be cheap. My vote not cheap. Your vote might be cheap. My vote not cheap. Your vote might be cheap. My vote is not cheap. See, they say Moses gave us 10 commandments. They say Moses went up to Mount Sinai and gave us 10 commandments. Well, I'm the new Moses. I'm the new Moses who going to deliver the black boys of America from Pharaoh's miseducation machine. I'm the new Moses that's going to deliver every black boy in America and every black boy in Canada and every black boy in Africa and every black boy in Europe and every black boy in Australia and every black boy in Central and South America, the Caribbean, the South Pacific. I'm the new Moses, and I'm going to lead our sons out of Pharaoh's miseducation machine into freedom and liberation. But I have an 11th commandment. 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 The 11th commandment. Thou shalt not vote unless you have a reason. Thou shalt not vote unless we're going to get resources. Thou shalt not vote unless we're going to get some jobs. Thou shalt not vote until there's an end of police genocide. The 11th commandment coming from the new black Moses. The 11th commandment coming from the new black Moses. Thou shalt not vote without a good reason. That's the new one. But let me get to the politics of black on black genocide. Let me get to the politics of black on black fratricide. Let me get to the politics of black on black homicide. Here's what I want to say. There are labor unions in every major city. There are electrical unions, plumbing unions, HVAC unions, carpentry unions, welding unions in every major city. These labor unions control the jobs that people get on publicly funded contracts. These labor unions in Detroit, these labor unions in New York, these labor unions in Philadelphia, these labor unions in Los Angeles, these labor unions in Chicago, Milwaukee, Houston, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Little Rock, Phoenix, and all points in between. These labor unions control who gets hired. They control who gets into the union. They control all of this. They control this. The reason black men are unemployed, the reason black men are unemployed, the reason black men are unemployed is because our black politicians, listen to me, the reason so many black men are unemployed because our black politicians are scared of the white labor unions. Let me say it again. I'm going to make it real plain today. I'm going to make it real plain today why I'm not voting November the 8th. Let me make it real plain today. Let me make it really, really plain today. The reason black men are killing each other out of emotional stress and economic oppression is because the white controlled labor unions in the city you live in, that's right, I don't care where you live, there's a carpentry union, there's a plumbing union, there's an electric union, there's a mechanical union, there's a welding union, there's a roofing union, and they are controlled by white folks, and they only let a few black men in. And the only way you can bust up the union, the only way you can bust up the union is for black politicians to change the rules. Black politicians have to expose the corruption. All this money is going to the white union, and they keeping white men employed. The union is keeping white men employed. The union is keeping white men employed, and the black politicians ain't doing nothing about it. Oh, yep. 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 That's what the problem is. They making $75 an hour. They making $60 an hour. They making $50 an hour. And it ain't just the trades. Because some of y'all going to say, well, if he ain't got no license to be a plumber, if he ain't got no license to be an electrician, if he ain't got no license to be an HVAC, they can't get him no job. Okay. What about the unskilled unions? What about the city workers union or the trash man union? What about the trash union? You ain't got to have no license to be a trash man. You don't have to have no license to be a garbage collector. You don't have to have no license to clean up the city. Look at all the unions that are out there. There's all kind of city workers union, all kind of unions, and they are keeping black men unemployed with unfair contractual practices, unfair contracting, unfair, racist city contracting. Racism in city contracting is where black men have to start. We don't want trouble. We don't want conflict. We don't want no problems. But what I do know, the politicians are too scared to do anything about it. The politicians are too scared to do anything about it. Black men gonna have to show up and show out. Until you stop the work from being done, until black men show up and show out, you will never get a paycheck. Until black men show up and show out. You absolutely right, Jay Bird Bryant. You absolutely right, Jay Bird Bryant. In fact, Jay Bird, I'm going to give it to you like this. Guess who are some of the biggest donors to Al Sharpton? Guess who are some of the biggest donors? Congressional Black Caucus. Guess who are some of the biggest donors? NAACP. Guess who are some of the biggest donors? Urban League. Guess who are some of the biggest donors in the black community? The white unions. Why you never hear Al Sharpton talking about racism in New York City labor contracts? Why you never hear Jesse Jackson talk about the racism and unfair hiring by the unions in America's cities? Because the white unions donate to Al Sharpton. They donate to Jesse Jackson. The white unions donate to the Congressional Black Caucus. They donate to your white mayor. They donate to your city council. The white unions pay off the black bourgeoisie. The white unions pay off the black bourgeoisie. The white unions pay off the black bourgeoisie, so they never bring up racism in union contracts. That's why Al Sharpton will talk about police genocide in voting until he blue in the face. Until he blue in the face. NAACP will talk about police brutality in voting until they blue in the face. The Urban League will talk about police genocide in voting until they blue in the face. Jesse Jackson will talk about police genocide in voting until they blue in the face. But the minute you start talking about the city jobs and the city contractors and how these white racist unions are keeping black men employed, how these white racist unions are keeping black men unemployed, how these white racist unions are keeping black men unemployed, the minute you start talking about that, the minute you start talking about these white racist labor unions, you don't hear nothing from your civil rights leaders. You don't hear nothing from the black church. You don't hear nothing from your black elected officials because they're scared of the union. They scared of the police union. They scared of the teachers union. They scared of the carpenter union. They scared of the firemen's union. They scared of the electrician union. They scared of the plumber union. And the only way we're going to fix this, the only way, Corey Bailey, your father black and your mama white. But which race do you identify with, Corey? Because there ain't no such thing as biracial. Choose a side, my brother. Corey Bailey, your father black, your mama white. I only got one question for you, my brother. Only got one question for you, my brother. Who do you side with? Which race do you identify with? Because it can't be both. It can't be both. I know it's not fair, my brother, but you got to choose. This is why the snow bunny crisis must stop. I know it's not fair, my brother, but you must choose. Multiracial is called fence walking. Whenever you hear Negroes say, I'm biracial, multiracial, you are a fence walker and you're trying to get the best of both worlds. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Corey Bailey, do you identify as African or do you identify as Caucasian? That's all I need to know. You either African or you Caucasian. A biracial Negro is a fence walker. A biracial Negro is a political fence walker, and I will not organize or struggle with a political fence walker. Multiracial means I am a fence walker. Multiracial means I don't want to commit yet to either side until I find out which side is going to give me the most. I'm not having it, Corey Bailey. I'm not having it, Corey Bailey. Choose a side, my brother. Identify with the oppressor or identify with the oppressed. Corey Bailey, it's not fair to you, my brother. But your parents decided to engage in snow bunny activity. And since they had snow bunny fever, no disrespect to your parents, my brother. I honor them both, but they had snow bunny fever. And because your parents had snow bunny fever, you were produced. You are biologically African. You are a biological African, but what are you psychologically, Corey? Are you psychologically Caucasian or are you psychologically African? Choose a side. Biracial means you are a political fence walker. You either identify with the slave or you identify with the slave master. You can't do both. You identify with the oppressor or you identify with the oppressed. You can't do both. You must choose a side. Hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit the PayPal, FDMG Academy. Hit the PayPal, FDMG Academy. Hit the PayPal, FDMG Academy. My brother, if you have a preference for a woman of a certain skin tone, you are not a Pan-Africanist. If you tell me I only date light-skinned sisters, you are not a Pan-Africanist. You are a light-skinned supremacist. You are not a Pan-Africanist. You are a light-skinned supremacist. You are not a Pan-Africanist. You are a light-skinned supremacist. Black woman, if you tell me you only date dark-skinned brothers. Black woman, if you tell me you only date dark-skinned brothers. Black woman, if you tell me you only date dark-skinned brothers, you are not a Pan-Africanist. You are a dark-skinned supremacist. You are not a Pan-Africanist. You are a dark-skinned supremacist. You are not a Pan-Africanist. You are a dark-skinned supremacist. No Pan-Africanist can have a preference for skin tone. If my wife be high yellow, so be it. If my wife be mixed race African sister, so be it. If my wife be blue, black, purple fudge, so be it. If my wife be cinnamon, so be it. If my wife be hot peanut butter, so be it. If my wife be sweet brown sugar, so be it. The first color on the RBG flag is red. The first color on the RBG flag is red. The first color on the RBG flag is red. Red, black, and green. It is Nat Turner's birthday today. It is Nat Turner's birthday today. It is Nat Turner's birthday today. It is Nat Turner's 222nd solar return. It is Nat Turner's 222nd solar return. Ifa Tunde 3 times. It is Nat Turner's 222nd solar return. Make sure you pour libation to the great prophet Nat Turner. Make sure you pour libation to the great prophet Nat Turner. Smoke a blunt don't smoke no blunts. You marijuana addicts better cut it out. You marijuana addicts better cut it out. You marijuana addicts better cut it out, because I hope you know they legalized marijuana to kill you. They legalized marijuana to destroy your reproductive capability. That's right, black man. Marijuana was legalized to help the genocide campaign against American Africans. Marijuana was legalized to help the genocide campaign against American Africans. Marijuana was legalized to help the genocide campaign against American Africans. Most of the marijuana you smoke is artificial. Most of the marijuana you smoke is artificial. Most of the marijuana you smoke is artificial. Not only is most of the marijuana you smoke artificial, it's being sprayed. They spraying the weed. They spraying the weed. And they spraying the weed with artificial cannabinoids made in China. They spraying the weed with artificial cannabinoids made in China. They spraying the fake marijuana with fake cannabinoids. They spraying the fake marijuana with fake cannabinoids, and you Negroes ain't gonna be able to get an erection. You ain't gonna be able to get no erection. You ain't gonna be able to get nobody pregnant. You're gonna have a psychotic episode, paranoid schizophrenia, heart attack, stroke. They killing y'all. Black women, you're going to get cervical cancer. You're going to get breast cancer. You're going to get vaginal cancer. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You're Your fallopian tubes is going to get cancer. The new marijuana is a weapon of mass destruction. Stop smoking the artificial marijuana. It is fake and it is being sprayed with cannabinoids from China. You think the opioid crisis was a problem? You think the opioid crisis was a problem? You think the opioid crisis was a problem? Wait until you see this marijuana crisis. Wait until you see this synthetic marijuana crisis. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism. I'm out.